askers. This is what we're talking about. Yes askers and anything askers is the one thing that helped me understand how to ask for what I wanted more clearly and how it helped me strengthen my boundaries overall. So I want to share that with you today. This is Fri-YAY. Welcome, divas. I'm so happy to have you here again. This is my weekly web series where we talk about business of music, we talk about new music, we talk about audience development, we talk about creative placemaking, and it's just the place where I get to talk about all my favorite things. So welcome to another Fri-YAY. My name is Megan Enan, and I wanted to share this with you today, which is my concept of yes askers and anything askers. You might already know something about this. So when I started to develop this idea out, I was struck by the fact that I knew certain people in my life who it felt like they would just ask for anything, right? Anything askers. So it felt like they could ask for anything, and then they were never fazed if the person said no. And also they weren't even that fazed if the person said yes. They just asked. It was part of who they were, that they just were an anything asker. And I started to think, well, okay, well, why do I not feel that way? Why do I not feel like an anything asker? And I started to realize that there's this concept that and I'm sure this is called other things in other places, but I call this the yes asker, which is many people are brought up or acculturated to think that they can't ask for something that they wouldn't be able to give themselves, right? And so they get better and better, and it becomes more and more subconscious to only ask for things that you would be able to say yes to, or that you know the other person will say yes to. So you only ask if you have 99% assurance that the person you're asking is going to say yes to your request. And this, you can see how this might be problematic when you're in the kind of work that we do in which you have to pitch yourself a lot, right? Pitching yourself is a version of asking to be given something, right? To be given an opportunity, to be given a commission, to be given a role, whatever it is, you are pitching yourself, you are asking to be given that opportunity. And if you are only pitching to things that you feel like you have 99% assurance that they're going to say yes to, you are leaving opportunities on the table. Yes, you're getting a rate in which you are protecting your feelings more, but the beauty of the anything askers is that they have somehow, or they have just been brought up, or it's part of their personality to release that emotional weight from the response of the person that they're asking, right? So they just ask because they know that they need to ask, right? So when I started to realize this, I was like, oh my gosh, I am missing out because of being a yes asker. It was really starting to hamstring me at a certain point because I wasn't taking chances. I wasn't putting myself out there for things because I didn't have that assurance that it was going to go okay. And you might feel this way too, and you might be dressing it up in your mind. You might be dressing it up by saying like, well, I don't want to offend them by asking for something that, by just asking for something. I don't want to offend them by asking for something. And when I started to realize that there was this other way of going about it, being an anything asker, is I studied that what I could pick up from those anything asker types, and I realized that they were actually allowing people to have their own boundaries, to say what they could and couldn't do. And I started to realize, oh, I am taking away that situation. I'm telling other people in my mind or subconsciously, I'm saying what their boundaries should be. I'm saying, based on my experience, what I know about this life and this world, I'm saying that I shouldn't ask for this because they're going to say no based on whatever I think their boundaries are, rather than asking them if this collaboration, if this gig, if this partnership, if this sponsorship is going to work for them, right? You have no idea, by and large, what works for somebody else until you ask. And if you go back to my video where I talk about pitch, submit, apply, ask, this is around the same time in my life where these ideas are coming to the fore. And I'm going, oh, I have to be in the process of putting myself out there more regularly. And I need to turn down the dial on my emotional reactivity to whatever the answer is. So those were the takeaways that I learned from the anything askers is release myself from the whatever the emotional, like whatever my emotional response might have been to their response, to their reaction, to their reply, so that I can just be in the process of saying, does this work for you? And a no is fine, because I can say, great, thank you for letting me know. That's it. That's it. And I want you to remember that that with that in mind, it's okay for people to say no to things. And it doesn't mean that you've ruined that relationship forever. It's okay to say, does this work for you right now? Is this something that you're looking for in your life? And if it's not, then you say, fine, great, moving on. And then you say, maybe you come back to them later with a different request, a different opportunity, a different like collaboration, whatever it is. So yes, askers, I think we get stuck. We get in this rut of feeling like, well, I can't ask them for that without any real material evidence that suggests that we can't ask people for something. So I want you to practice, if you are a yes asker like I am, I want you to practice asking for what you want. And this took me a while to realize like how deeply I was stuck in that process of being a yes asker, where I felt like I couldn't ask for things that I wasn't able to immediately say, like, of course they'd say yes to this, right? The process of getting out of that required me practicing asking for what I want clearly and consistently, and walking away from things when it's not the right fit. And that is hard, right? That's a process. So when you're doing this, this might be practicing asking in situations that don't have as much emotional significance to you as, say, like your professional life or something like that. But it could be, a purchasing decision. Ask for what you want, right? Practicing in that situation saying, one of my favorite phrases, somebody taught me this along the way, which is to practice saying, is that the best you can do for me? And then no malice in it whatsoever. Is that the best that you can do for me? So asking for what I wanted was certain situations like getting your car fixed, and then asking, is that the best that you can do for me? Right? When they quote you something. And if they say yes, then you go, great, right? Like, but you've still asked. And that's a very low risk situation in that regard, because you're going to get this done anyway. So I want you to practice in your own life saying, what is it that I really want? Can I clearly ask for that? I really want you to practice identifying your needs, wants, and desires. Practice identifying your needs, wants, and desires so that in the conversation, you can ask for those things to be met. And if they are not able to be met, that just tells you what you need to know. It doesn't have to mean anything else. It just means, okay, so either I'm acknowledging that I'm not getting this particular need met in this situation, and I'm okay with moving forward, or this need is so important to me at this point that I'm willing to walk away from this situation so that this need can be met. And I really want you to practice that. It's so important. So being able to identify your wants, needs, and desires in this case so that you're able to communicate them clearly. This helps you move through things, right? And also preferences, right? There's think about that my preferences exercise, right? If you are given the preference between this thing or this thing, if you're given the preference between this kind of commission or this kind of commission, what are you going to ask, right? What would you choose? So I always have my clients practice an exercise that I call like the Goldilocks exercise, where when we're talking about opportunities or something like that, we talk about what's too few, what's too many, right? So if you're talking about getting more students into your studio, and I say, okay, what's too few? Well, like what's too few in your studio? What's the number that's too few for you to continue running this? And also, what's too many? What is like the cap? What's too many students? And then you've got this range to play with. So what you're doing is looking for your ideal students to sign up to fit that range, right? That range of students, because that's what you want. And so you can get to the work of asking people to commit to your studio, right? You can also do this for commission fees. You could say, what's too little, what's too much, right? In this case, and maybe there isn't a too much. I don't know. That sounds great to me. So what's too little, what's too much here? And then being okay with asking for what you want and what you desire in that situation. And if it's below that what's too little, then you can say, okay, this is not the right situation for me. Let's try and find another opportunity to work together. So when you're thinking about that, I'm going to go back to what I was saying about boundaries too, is that this anything askers really helped me understand that not everybody acts the same way that I do, right? I remember at the time being overwhelmed by anything askers because I thought that they were yes askers. I thought that they asked the same way that I did. I thought that they came to me and they said, well, Megan will surely say yes to this. So I'm going to ask her. So anything askers were showing up in my life and saying, can you do this thing? And I'd be like, oh my gosh, they think I can do this. Yeah, sure, I guess. And feeling stressed out about that until I started realizing there's the difference between anything askers and yes askers. And when I understood that difference, I was able to say, oh, anything askers are going to just present this question. They're going to say, can you do this thing? And they're just asking, and they're not going to like be mad at me because I said, no, that doesn't fit into my life right now. So they really helped me understand that I needed to do a better job when presented with requests to stay true to my boundaries, to understand, is this too much? Is this too little? Do I really want this? Is this part of my wants, needs, and desires so that I can say yes to this? Or are they just asking so that they exhaust all their options? And I can say, you know what, that's not for me, but I might know somebody who could be the right fit for you. So keep these things in mind. This is how this understanding of yes askers and anything askers really helped me be clearer about what I wanted and going forth and practicing asking for it so that it wasn't just about only yes answers, yes reacts only. So that feeling of didn't have to only be yes answers, right? For the things that I was going for, I could just put requests out into the world and see if any of them got picked up, right? And I did the inner work to release myself from the expectation of that response or whatever their response would be. And then it helped solidify my boundaries because I realized that people were just asking because they are anything askers. And I could say, no, that doesn't fit in my life. And no emotional fallout was going to happen. It was all fine. So I want you to practice this right now. First, identify, are you more on the spectrum of a yes asker? Are you more on the spectrum of an anything asker? Then ask yourself, what is powerful about being that version, right? What is the superpower of that? Also, what's the superpower of the other one that I don't quite fit into? Can I learn anything from that? How can I start applying that? If it feels a little challenging to do that, what are some low-risk situations in which I can practice until I get better, right? So take that, divas, as you will. Yes askers, anything askers. Practice asking for things. Practice putting yourself out there. Pitch, submit, apply, ask. And also make sure that you understand your own boundaries for requests, right? That's what I want for you. So that's it. Until next time, stay sparkly inside and out.